that you and I both know that they wouldn't do. I'm going to give you an example of sincerity, one or two examples, but definition-wise, that's enough. One or two examples. We know how to attain, increase our ikhlas, and this is to follow and increase more righteous deeds in following the Prophet. But many of us might be tricked from shaitan's whispering or our nafs, and we might think that that means I have to fulfill the whole sunnah. I have to do everything the Prophet did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I have to complete the whole of the religion. Then I'm a Muslim. No. What is in front of you? Right here, right now, every day. What has Allah put in front of you? And how are you addressing that action there and then? That is your jihad, that is your nikah, that is your jannah, that is everything. Because you might die right after that action. That's why the judgment of an action is not about its size, but its sincerity. And those who understood it best, like Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, what did he do? He was in Medina, did a business contract, finished, signed, etc. Now he's on his way to Baghdad for a big deal. He arrives into the city, he's traveled. Remember, this takes a long time. There's no, British Airways back then. They get on camel ways, and they rode all the way to Iraq. And he arrived outside the city, and he realized in his pocket was the pen of the man he did the deal with. He could have gone in and finished his business in Baghdad, but he didn't. He turned and returned. He went back to Medina. He gave the man his pen. The man said, I would have let this go. So what if you didn't? And I would have had to answer for it. It's about this, how sincere, the willingness. This was a long time. If we today forget that, we're in another city, we're going to be like, I took a little thing from a hotel the other day, and the front desk guy let me borrow it, and I forgot to get back to him. And I left the hotel, went to another city, and on my way back to London, I made sure I took that route, so I could go into that hotel and drop it off, and he wasn't there. I was really upset. And some next guy was there, and I said, who's the guy here last night? And he said, Michael. I said, yeah, that's the guy. Can you give this to him? He said, sure. So what room are you in? I said, why? He said, do you need something? I said, no, I'm leaving now. He said, you drove all the way back for this? And he said, yes. And he said, why'd you do that? I said, because you don't know who Allah is. I do. And I have to go back to him and I have to answer. So find out who Allah is, and it'll make you do the same. These actions, these small things, little, they're small, but do them sincerely, they're weighty in the sight of Allah. Abdullah ibn Saeed, because of his sincerity, he was climbing a wall, and as he's climbing the wall, they see he's wearing that kilt type of thing, and they see his legs, and they're like really skinny, like skinny enough to make us laugh. And so the Sahaba laughed. And the Prophet ﷺ said, don't laugh. For in the sight of Allah, his legs are weightier than the mountain of Uhud. Why? Because of his sincerity. I'll give you one example of his sincerity. He loved Islam and he thought it was perfect. And he went out to the Kaaba and they didn't know how to pray yet. Okay? Salah we take for granted. He didn't know how to pray yet. He stood at the Kaaba, Allahu Akbar. This was not taught yet. What do you do? How frustrating. I'm here to worship you. What are the idol worshippers doing? Taking their clothes off, going crazy. I don't know, nonsense, all right? That's what they do. Even Umar ibn Khattab used to laugh about them. He said, I remember the days I used to worship this idol which was made of dates. And when I get hungry, I take a piece of meat. And he said, I can't believe I worshipped that thing. And he would laugh about it. But his sincerity was constantly reflecting. So immediately after he laughed, he cried. And they asked him, why did you cry? He said, because I remember I buried my daughter. He was not shy. He wanted to pinch. He wanted to cry. He wanted to hurt. To purify, clean this filth. What did I do? My mistakes. Ignorance makes people do stupid things. When you know your Lord, you'll do the right thing. Far more often than not. So here's Abdullah ibn Saeed, went to the Kaaba. There's no salah yet. What should he do? He just heard these verses recited by the Messenger of Allah. He just repeats the verses. Recites Quran. He wants people to hear. That's not how you worship Allah. This is how you worship Allah. So someone asked me, but why can't we just all worship God however we want? This is a great answer for a lot of Orientalists, a lot of agnostics. They ask this kind of tricky question. Why can't we do whatever we want? All right then. Go home to your mom and say, Mom, I love you. Don't move. I'll be right back. I'm going to show you how much. And you go into the closet and you get your cricket bat and you come back and you go, I love you, Mom, and you just start pounding on her. So this is how I want to show you I love you. Is that how your mom wants you to love her? No. You have to love her how she wants to be loved. So can you worship God however you want? Take your clothes off. No, you have to do it the way He wants you to. And so Jalal Ibn Saeed stood at the Kaaba and he recited. And he started speaking the truth. And the liars and the hypocrites and the evil became jealous. Because what he had was divine. What he had was truth. What he had was beautiful. What he had sounded amazing in comparison to naked running around naked gods. What sounded amazing, they couldn't handle it. They walked up to him and started pelting on him, beating him, and he wouldn't move. He wouldn't stop, kept reciting, took the blows one after the other, would not stop. This is the truth. And he kept on. That was his willingness. Didn't care what happened to him. The truth and the goodness of this action is worth more to me. I can't sit in Darul Arqam. I can't sit in that hidden house anymore. People need to know I am a Muslim. I'm not shy. I'm not afraid. I want you to know. And today, Muslims hide their Islam out of fear of someone looking at him and say, oh, he doesn't look so good. Look at him. He looks a bit Taliban-y or whatever. Instead, never mind. I don't want to offend anyone. But anyways, you have this mentality. And Abdullah ibn Saeed was at a time where they weren't insulting him. They would have killed him for his Islam. And he stood and said, I'm a Muslim. I'll sacrifice, take me, kill me, I don't care. This is the truth. And he stood up on haqq and he recited until they knocked him out. And others came, picked him up. He's passed out, bleeding from his head. They took him back to Darul Arqam, hidden him away. And there he's asleep, and they're looking after him, wiping his head, and time goes by, and he slowly gains consciousness, and he wakes up reciting where he had left off. And he got up and he looked around, he saw he's not at the Kaaba anymore. So what happened? He said, they knocked you out. Did they? And he's on his way out again. And they grabbed him and they stopped him. That's why his legs were weighty in the sight of Allah. The sincerity. And when you do actions, my brothers and sisters, hide them for the sake of Allah. Let only Allah reward you. Don't seek showing off. And it's not your fault if you do. Because the waswas is consistent. He will whisper in your ear, look, he's looking, he might see you. Or look, he might like you, or she might like you. When that happens, a'udhu billah. Okay, a'udhu billah. And this is important. It's important to constantly say that Yusuf alayhi salam, tempted by the woman, and he said, this is something he said, shouted out, Allah forbid. He protected himself, so you must do the same. And renew your intention. And if you're doing something and you think you're showing off, many people think, I'll stop here. I'll stop doing it because that's showing off. If you stop, that is also showing off. You're not allowed to stop. If you start a good deed and your intention was to show off, in the middle of the good deed, change your intention. Make it purely for His sake and carry on. Do not stop the good. So what if someone saw you? Don't stop the good. Because stopping it, to hide it, is also showing off. As if to say, I'm so pious, I hide my good deeds. I see a lot of that as well. So ultimately, my brothers and sisters, many examples. One man, I'll just give you one example of hiding good deeds. A man wanted, the rewards of the akhirah, not the rewards of the dunya. One man, he's in the desert with his family, he's living there, and 3 men are traveling by, and the men, this is the story of the Salaf, beautiful stories, and these 3 men stop in for a pit stop, and they know the man, they ask about him, his wife is there, he's out doing his work for the day, and his wife is there, and she invites them into the guest room, they go there, and she prepares food, the man comes home, are so-and-so here? He says, yes, they are here, they've arrived for you, and they came to see you, they're traveling through. He says, okay, what have we got? We've got a goat, we've got a camel, and we've got this and that. Whatever he had, he slaughtered it, he took it out, he served it, and he delivered it. He gave them the food, he fed them, he gave them shelter, and he looked after them. And then he had to go back to work, so he got up and left. And they were about to pack up and leave. And as they're leaving, they notice he's out, and they can't say goodbye to him. So they tell his wife, we've left some gifts, meaning coins, some payment, for his hospitality. And now they've gone. Half the day journey. They're gone into the desert. They see in the distance, they hear a crazy man, literally madman. Amongst the Arabs, they have a lot of pride. Okay, Arabs, they have a lot of haya, shyness, good manners. And they wouldn't do mad things. If you saw a person running, all of the classical scholars, they say either he's insane, why would you run? Imagine what they would say about the Olympics. So if someone was running in the street, they'd say he's mad, he's crazy, leave him alone. Why did somebody run? Walk. Okay, be free to walk. What are you running for? You're not in battle. So that was one, or he is a student of knowledge. Those are the two reasons people run. A student of knowledge would hear so-and-so is teaching a hadith. He would run like his life depended on it. He did not want to miss it. And so this man was running in the desert, and these three men looked back like some madman. It can't be so-and-so. He was so eloquent. Look at him. He's running like a wild man. And he's running, screaming. And they're like, it's madman. Let's keep going. They're like, no, let's wait till he wants. He shows up. Like, oh my God, it is him. Maybe he was mad. He shows up and he says, you think I fed you, looked after you so you could pay me for it? And he threw it in their face. So I did it for Allah. You will not take my akhirah. Turn around and home. So I didn't look after you so you would pay me. Did I say there was a price? Okay. My messengers arrived. I need to stop there. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept whatever good I said and enable us to implement it. Protect our hearts and our souls from corruptions and jealousies and people's evil's eye. And may Allah Azza wa Jal enable us to please Him with our actions and be sincere in it. Thank you very much.